Would the diagnosis of Turner syndrome in a single cell necessarily mean that every cell of the body would contain 45 chromosomes? Explain. When we talk about Turner's, what we're actually, the diagnosis of Turner syndrome is instead of getting an X chromosome, so that 23rd pair, instead of getting an X from the female and an X from the male to give you that XX or girl, okay, what we only get is an X from one, either or. Usually it's the egg that's missing stuff, not necessarily the sperm cell. So we tend to say that it is an XO karyotype. So some of you had Turner syndrome in your karyotype activity. So what that means is basically if we've got an egg from the female here, and that egg only has 22 chromosomes, okay, it's missing its X chromosome, and it is basically injected with the 23 chromosomes of the male, then the result is actually going to be a cell that only has 45 chromosomes, okay, which means it's only got one X instead of two. Because the X is there, that organism will be considered female, okay, because female is XX or X without a Y. Now, if the zygote, if that first cell has 45 chromosomes, what does that say about every other cell that's going to divide through mitosis? So this implies that if the zygote, or that initial mother cell, if you want, has only 45 chromosomes, and all the other cells divide by mitosis, then they should all have 45 chromosomes as well. So if the question is asking you if one cell has 45 chromosomes, will they all have? Yes, because they've all duplicated through mitosis from that original 45 chromosome cell. Is it possible for two people with Down syndrome to give birth to a normal child? Normal being a child with 46 chromosomes. If you have Down syndrome, how many chromosomes do you have total? You have 47 because you have a trisomy, or 321 chromosomes, right? Chromosome number 21, instead of just being there twice, it's there 3 times. So if the question says, can two people with Down syndrome give rise to a child with a normal amount of DNA, let's look at this. If we've got person here with 47 chromosomes, which is Down syndrome, if that undergoes meiosis, then one side here will have 23 chromosomes, normal, and the other side here will have 24 chromosomes, abnormal, right? And then when these chromosomes later divide to give you chromatids, this one right here will give you 23 chromatids in both. And this one will give you 24 chromatids in both. So in theory, if the question states, that should be a 4, sorry about that. The question states, can two people with Down syndrome give rise to normal children? Okay, and normal being their karyotype would have 46 chromosomes. If both of these parents, basically undergo 47 that gets divided into 23 and 24, our normal ends up being right here. If this one ends up being the egg in one person and this one ends up being the sperm in the other person, well, when those two combine, you will get 46 chromosomes. So the answer there is yes. So the next question is, would it ever be possible to produce a baby who has 48 chromosomes? Now to answer that, let's go back and look at our Down syndrome question, because if somebody has 47 chromosomes, okay, when those chromosomes divide, they're going to divide into a 23 chromosome and a 24 chromosome. So if the question asks, can somebody ever have, can a child ever be born with 48? The answer is yes, because if two parents with 47, okay, 47 chromosomes cross, then you get 23 and you get 24. You get 23 here and you get 24. So if these gametes, okay, now these gametes also will divide again and give you chromatids. But basically, if this gamete crosses with this one, the offspring here, okay, combining these two, 24 plus 24 is 48. Now, will that actually be viable? Probably not. But it is possible for that to occur. Finally, more males than females suffer from color blindness. Speculate as to why females who have Turner syndrome have a similar incidence of color blindness as males. So in order to answer this question, we have to remember what Turner syndrome actually means. So what does a female with Turner syndrome actually, what's the problem there? What's the issue if you have Turner's? You only have one X. So if you are a female with Turner's, you for your 23rd pair of chromosomes, okay, where if you were a girl, you would have XX. If you were a boy, you would have XY. Females with Turner's are considered to be XO. Okay, because that O is where they're missing an actual chromosome. Okay? Whereas males will have 46 chromosomes, but their sexual chromosomes, okay, their sex-determining chromosomes, pair number 23, is actually XY. So the question is, why would women who suffer from Turner syndrome have a similar likelihood to develop baldness and colorblindness as males do?
Maybe it's because since they don't have a double X, they're not like 100% female, but they're also not male either because they don't have a Y chromosome.
So close, so close. Here's the deal. Baldness and colorblindness are genes carried. They're what we call sex-linked recessive disorders. They are disorders or mutations of genes found on the X chromosome. And if they are recessive, that means that you need the two recessives there if you're a woman. If you've got an X chromosome and an X chromosome, okay, if you're a double X, you need both of those genes to be recessive in order for you to exhibit colorblindness or baldness. Whereas if you're a woman with Turner syndrome, you only have the one X here. So if you do carry the colorblindness gene or the baldness gene, you've got no other X chromosome to see whether it's dominant or recessive. You will express that recessive trait. Males are in the same boat because they only have that one X. So if males or females with Turner syndrome have the gene that codes for colorblindness on their X chromosome, on their only X chromosome, or they have the gene that codes for baldness on their only X chromosome, then they will express that actual gene. So we see that women with Turner syndrome, women who are XO, have the same likelihood as normal men to having these X-linked, these X chromosome-linked disorders or mutations because they only have, like men, one X chromosome.